Good. All right. Welcome to the Side Action Podcast, episode 11 of season 4. My name is Jim Weglars, aka Wegs. You can follow me at Wegspool on Instagram and on Twitter.
And I'm Steve Roberts, aka Action. You can follow me on Twitter at 31sroberts.
Follow the podcast, the Side Action Pod, on Twitter. So, Action, I'm live from the studio at Avenida Cinco in Playa, Carmen, as you can see. I have a nice background. I have a co-host who's chirping back here at my uncle's place. I'm enjoying Tio David's famous recipe for margaritas.
Nice. There's a rainbow just over your right-hand shoulder, too. It's a very beautiful backdrop for the podcast tonight.
This is being recorded, so that's great. We have a rainbow. Everything's perfect in paradise in Playa del Carmen today.
Everything's perfect in Detroit, too. It's 46 degrees and raining tonight, so couldn't ask for much better.
Yeah, you got the millionaire hat in the background. You got you're obviously the microphone. You've got everything going, so that's all you need.
That's right.
Well, anyway, besides my little digs, which I'm appreciating here for the weekend, visiting my uncle and aunt here, so it's been a nice little respite from my work week. How was your weekend last weekend?
It was nice, very relaxing. We just hung around town and got a lot of work done around outside the house before the time change with the last little bit of daylight we have left, and just watching a lot of football. We watched the Boilermakers get a big win against the Michigan State Spartans.
They're called the Spoilermakers now.
Yeah.
I heard.
Moneyline underdogs, so that was enjoyable. And then more NFL football on Sunday, obviously. How was your weekend?
It was great. It was kind of one of these things where I didn't have a lot of plans, but of course, Mr. Single Available Guy is doing a bunch of stuff, and all of a sudden, next thing I know, I got a bunch of plans. I'm staying out till 3 a.m. That's after the time change, Action. So that means 4 a.m. for most people. I don't know. It was kind of a wild night. Ended up having a lot of fun at the Holiday Club with some friends after going to Sheffield's, and then we hit the Golden Apple, which I'm sure you're familiar with, a 24-hour diner here in Chicago. So that was a wild night. I also played a lot of volleyball. On Sunday, we had a great weekend for volleyball. Probably the last good weekend in Chicago, just like in Detroit. My co-host is trying to pipe in. You want to say something? Okay.
I think he's telling you to bet the Jets.
Bet the Jets. That's right. The Jets. Oh, my God. Anyway, well, yeah, great weekend. So, let's jump into it, Action. Last weekend, it was kind of a wild weekend, and this is kind of the theme we've been talking about all season. Underdogs crushed it again this week at a resounding 11-3 against the spread, 8-3 for the road dogs. So, if you bet underdogs, especially this year in general, you'd definitely be making money. You're probably making double your money. It's just crazy.
Yeah, I think you've heard in the media the last several weeks that the books have been getting crushed by the public, and it flipped on a dime last weekend with all the underdogs that came in. I think you saw a lot of heavy favorites and public teams that went down too, including the Cowboys.
Right. Well, that was my survivor pick, so thank you for rubbing that in, Action. But so I'm out of the survivor pool. But yeah, it was rough. How about the Bills, Jacksonville? We'll talk about some of these games, but just one of these situations where not only did they cover, but they went outright. Now the unders were split, so this is totals were split this week, 7-7, so that's normalized, and road teams still dominate 10-4 in general, which again, I don't know if that's ever going to flip at this point. It seems like that's just the trend that's working for the season. Mm-hmm. But still, most of the time, if you pick the right side, you do it. There's not a lot of spread coming into effect. 2 of the games, one of them, of course, the Steelers Bears, which we kind of knew about. But for the most part, if you pick the right side, if you're able to pick the right upset, you can get some good money line winners.
Yeah, definitely. It seems to be the way to go is to try to pick the team that wins the game. Sometimes more difficult, though, on those smaller spreads like we saw in the Chargers and Eagles game, where we were pretty fortunate to come out on the right side there. I think that one was really a coin flip, and the Chargers made the plays at the end to get the W.
Yeah, that was a definite sweat there. Well, let's talk about the highs this week. I had to put your guy and my guy on my fantasy teams, Jonathan Taylor. This dude is dominating for the Colts, 172 yards rushing on Thursday night, 28 yards receiving, 2 touchdowns. He is really happy the offensive line is back, isn't he, Action?
Yeah, no doubt about it. I was reading in the recap that this was the first game of the season that the Colts had their full starting offensive line intact. And that really showed with the performance from Jonathan Taylor, as well as their ability to protect Carson Wentz. They 272 passing yards, but it really certainly felt like the Colts dominated that one from start to finish, at least on that side of the ball.
Yeah, they somehow can't stop the pass right now. We'll see if that continues this week. But they did cover the spread, which is important. But I love the offense right now, and Carson Wentz is playing a little. When he plays under control, it works.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's their recipe, though. Take the ball out of Carson's hands and let the running backs have at it. Nyheim Hines had a big game, too. I think you see that a lot on Thursday nights where the backup running backs get a little bit more play than they would on a normal game day.
Right, absolutely. They both went off. I also put on Patriots D. I mean, I'm slowly coming aboard of the action side that the Patriots are a good team. Of course, their offense is getting bolstered by these pick sixes. So we'll talk about that a little bit in the handicaps later. But 3 interceptions in total. J.C. Jackson had 2 of them. This guy is he's kind of like, a Trayvon Diggs, right? He's just intercepting the ball almost every week.
Well, yeah, I mean, the Patriots seemingly wear these ghost-like jerseys every time they play against Sam Darnold. And 3 interceptions and now a shoulder injury. I think it's safe to say that Sam Darnold is toast.
Yeah, he may not be back in the NFL, or at least not in his current form as a starter. I put the Denver defense. You had mentioned a little bit about the Cowboys getting beat. This was a crazy game. No Von Miller, no problem here. I mean, they just destroyed them. They held them to 5 of 13 on third down and 0 of 4 on fourth down, and really scoreless. That Dallas defense has been really good, and they held them scoreless for 3 quarters. I mean, any explanation for this besides Vic Fangio just out coaching the offensive team for the Cowboys?
No, I don't have any explanation. I mean, I guess you could blame part of it as a letdown on the Dallas Cowboys.
Sure.
Really remarkable after the big win they got on Sunday Night Football against the Vikings the week before. They get their quarterback back, and they just didn't show up last weekend. And they're not the only ones. I mean, across the league, you saw a ton of teams that just decided not to show up last week. Tons of aberration across the board.
Well, I wonder, it's hard to it'd be difficult to catalog this. You probably have more information, but maybe it's something to do with the time change, dude. I'm serious. I know that I heard a study, or at least a soft anecdotal study by Stefania Bell, who's like an ESPN injury person, that there's usually a slew of injuries after the time change because the body clocks are different. People aren't doing their same routine, and that can happen. It kind of seemed like maybe that was the case. I mean, in Buffalo, the Cowboys, I mean, there's so many different teams that just couldn't get it done this weekend. I'm not sure.
Fascinating. Never thought about it, but certainly something that we could file away for next season.
Absolutely. Last one, I had the Browns. I mean, they played really well this week. They forced 3 turnovers, including a 99-yard pick six, on the first drive of the game or something. And Action always quotes this stat, but a 9.0 yards per play. They didn't actually have that many yards in the game, but they were so efficient with them. I guess they just kept scoring, so they didn't need to move the ball up and down that much.
Yeah, I mean, the rushing attack, again, 153 yards. I know Chubb broke off a big one. And on the other side, we mentioned Denzel Ward returning to the lineup. And right off the bat, he made his presence known with that big-time pick six that got the Browns off and running.
Right, absolutely. On the lows is the Chiefs' offense again. I mean, this is like a broken record, but this team didn't score in the second half again. Now, they won the game over the Packers, but didn't cover the spread, coincidentally. But also, I don't know what's up with this offense. It's kind of sad right now to see the fall of a great offense this quickly, but the defense is playing well. That could be a high, but 0 points in the second half for the Chiefs. I mean, that almost never happens.
Yeah, especially against the Packers defense that is so poorly rated in the metrics, 16th ranked, about medium, middle of the pack, but that rush defense is bad. And it just seems like the book is out on how to stop this Chiefs offense. Everyone sits back in that 2 deep shell, and there's no blitzing whatsoever. And they just force Mahomes to take it easy. And for whatever reason, he and their offense just can't handle it. And they're also locking up his 2 biggest targets, and Hill and Kelsey. So,
right.
I think the Raiders are going to have a little something for him this weekend too.
Yeah, we'll talk about that. Somehow the Raiders are not even favored at home. So. All right, so I have in the lows the Bills rushing offense. This team, I like this team. They're the number one team in the Wegs Index, a little precursor. They've been for several weeks, but this team cannot run the ball. They had 9 carries in the game against Jacksonville for 22 yards from the running backs. Josh Allen is their leading rusher on the season, and he was on Sunday. They're not going to win in January like that. They've got to figure out a running game.
Yeah, no doubt about it. I think you've seen year in, year out that when the weather turns, teams rely on the rushing attack, and that becomes more important, as well as stopping the run. And Buffalo, of course, they can do the latter, but they certainly need to get the run game going. I think the running backs being banged up a little bit. Zach Moss only had 3 carries last weekend.
Right.
It certainly doesn't help their cause.
Absolutely. A couple more. The Raiders red zone. I was kind of, we were on different sides of that game. In the end, you were right on the Giants, but from a yard standpoint, I mean, Raiders went up and down the field. They just could not get the ball in the end zone. Scored 9 total points in the red zone. They were 1 of 3 in the red zone for touchdowns. That's obviously not a good recipe for winning, especially on the road. And they did drop the game outright, mainly on the pick 6 again, another pick 6 this week. But I don't know. Maybe this is something that Gruden, I don't know. Gruden, not a big fan ultimately, but maybe they're struggling to find those red zone scoring plays.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I think I would just chalk that one up as some negative variance. You don't expect that Henry Ruggs being absent affected their red zone offense by any stretch of the imagination. No. And when you look at the box score, they really crushed the Giants in terms of yardage and YPP, 6 yards per play compared to the Giants 4.5. So I think it's one game of many this weekend that I'm kind of writing off in terms of allowing it to enter my mind frame and how these teams actually are.
Right. Last one is the Rams offensive line performance. This is a situation where we were, the Titans, remember the Titans. This team keeps winning despite crazy metrics, but the Rams were unable to protect Stafford against the Titans. They got 5 sacks and 2 interceptions, and they were only 4 of 15 on third down. So this Rams offense, I guess this offensive line that was really the hallmark a couple of years ago is not as good.
Yeah, they're definitely aging. Big Wit is got to be close to 40 now, and they're just not. They got Stafford under pressure, and that pick 6 was Wentz-esque early in the first half, and after that was done, you could just see that the Rams offense was rattled, and I went to sleep personally, but I knew they had no chance of coming back.
Right. It was fascinating. Okay, let's go over the key injuries and notes from the week. A lot of interesting things happening. So Kyler Murray didn't play last week, as well as Hopkins and everybody else in the team, but they still won. But is he looking to play in week 10?
I keep getting injury reports every day for Hopkins, Edmonds, Murray, and now Rondale Moore are all on the injury report, and none of them have practiced yet this week, Wednesday or Thursday. Right. So at best, you could call them game time decisions, and I'm not sure they're going to need all of them again this week going up against a PJ Walker-led Carolina team, but certainly something to monitor.
Yeah, Colt McCoy was great, so I guess they don't need him, but just kind of interesting. The Patriots running backs, both of them, Harris and Stevenson. I really like Stevenson, by the way, as a rookie. They're both questionable. Both kind of got dinged up. Stevens got the concussion, Harris too, so we're going to see what happens with them, but their line is moving towards them, so I guess it doesn't matter who's playing running back for them. You mentioned the P.J. Walker-led Carolina Panthers. There's a lot of news for Carolina. First, Sam Darnold was out like at least 4 weeks with a shoulder injury. I guess he broke his shoulder. Is that fractured his shoulder? That's what I saw.
I heard some reports that Matt Rule may have intentionally injured him so that he can no longer play.
He tackled him on concrete in the locker room. But they also signed Cam Newton on this team. Now, he obviously is joining the team now. He's not going to be ready to start on Sunday, but it looks like he'll probably start in a week or so. So that's kind of crazy for them. Carolina. You look at their schedule too. It's not good. I see maybe 3 more wins on that schedule with great play. They got a really tough schedule on the stretch.
Yeah, intense fall from grace after the starting 3 weeks where they went 3-0 and looked like world beaters, especially on defense. Now, they still have a pretty legitimate defense, but this offense is trending downwards in a very bad way.
Right. Just for your video viewers, the audio viewers or listeners, you're not seeing me drink this margarita like it's water. It's delicious. And Action's got our side action mug or pint glasses, which are excellent. We'll get those on sale for everybody too. All right, so the Browns, you've listed the Browns. So Chubb is also positive for COVID. Demetric Felton as well. So both are vaccinated, but they have to get 2 negative tests to get back on the field. So Dearness Johnson, your guy, is probably going to be out again.
Yeah, I mean, we saw D'Ernest Johnson give a great performance on that Thursday night game against the Broncos, and I don't really think it's going to be too much of a drop off. Obviously, Chubb is one of the best backs in the league, but it's been proven time and again that a running back change isn't really going to affect the line too much. However, until just yesterday, they did not have another running back on the roster. I think they signed Brian Hill, former Falcons running back, just to fill in as a number 2. But there's a possibility that Chubb and Felton could be back on Sunday if they're able to test negative. So it's something that we'll have to monitor before the picks.
Right. So I'm going to mention both quarterbacks in this game. So I think they're both going to be playing. So Rodgers is supposed to be back. Does he have to have a negative test, or how does that work?
I don't know, actually. I'm certainly probably needs to test negative, but I believe that it was just a 10-day time period regardless. So
Okay.
Assuming that he doesn't have lingering symptoms or positive tests, then he's expected to be back.
Yeah, and then Wilson should be playing in that game. So with the Packers Seattle game, that'll be interesting. And Wilson is back. He is practicing, correct?
Yep. Yeah, Russell Wilson definitely starting. And I think the line being at 3 certainly tells us that both guys are going to be starting. And if either of them, if there was any question of them playing, I think you would see this line be moving in one direction a lot more than it is.
Right. Okay. Well, let's go over our ratings. Obviously, it hasn't changed a whole heck of a lot from last week, but I did add another one just for action. So I've still got the Bills at 1, Cardinals 2, Bucks 3, Rams 4, and then at 5, I actually have a tie between the Cowboys and the Patriots. So I don't see the Patriots on the DVOA, but I'm a little surprised by that.
Yeah, good question. I didn't actually pick out New England. 13 Wegs and team total DVOA. And very similar, in DVOA, the Bills did drop 3 places down to number 4 this week after the dismal performance in Jacksonville. And the Cardinals are number 1, followed by the Bucks and Rams, and Cowboys 5 and Browns are 6. Right. So again, very similar to the Wegs index, with the obviously the Patriots being in lieu of the Browns.
I do think the thing about maybe DVOA factors in that the offense didn't score the points in the last 2 weeks. There's actually 6 points in each game that the defense has scored, and I think that's something we'll talk about later when I want to handicap that game. But yeah, I'm not surprised that they're not in your DVOA. But yeah, Wegs index isn't perfect, everybody. Well, let's jump into this week's lines. We've got a game tonight that we won't be obviously putting into the contest. We always talk about it. You've got Baltimore comes off the bye playing Miami. Miami did get the win, obviously, against the Texans, and did cover, by the way. Baltimore opens as a 6.5-point favorite on the road, 48-point total. In the contest, it's 7.5. You're showing 7.5. I think Rivers has it at 8.5 for the Ravens. 46.5-point total here. I mean, it's a lot of points, but Baltimore. Well, actually, no, Baltimore didn't come off the bye. My bad. They came off the bye last week, and they won the game, but they didn't cover against the Vikings. So, but is there any way to go besides the Ravens here? You're not going to back Miami here, are you?
No, I would have no interest in Miami, even at this number. I think that at this point, though, it's gotten away a little bit. The time to bet the Ravens was at 7 earlier this week. So certainly wouldn't recommend giving that out. But it's definitely a great teaser play. I'm sure it's part of the reason why you've seen it tick up so high this afternoon is Ravens money coming in. And even on the road, I think getting them down under a field goal is a good play.
Sure, absolutely. All right, this is for your squad. Jacksonville going to the Colts. The Colts open as a 10-point favorite at home, 48-point total. In the contest, it's 10.5, 47.5-point total. So not a lot of movement there. It's a big number. I mean, the Colts covered against the Jets last week. Jacksonville was able to stuff the Bills. I mean, I still like the Colts in general. I do like them even at this number, but I might have a little hesitancy after last week's game. What do you think?
No, I don't think so. I believe that Jacksonville rising up and beating the Buffalo Bills was like their one game effort this season, and they're going to be happy to pack it up and not really go all out again this week. And I mean, the Colts have actually been really good laying numbers of this size this season, only twice, mind you, against Houston and the Jets, where they were laying double digits and they covered in both games.
Okay.
So that, coupled with the fact of the offensive line being healthy now and intact, I think is going to give them a pretty supreme edge going against this really crappy Jacksonville defense. Despite the outcome last weekend, they're still bottom of the league in DVOA.
Well, and can we see the real Colts defense stand up? I mean, come on. I mean, they were really good last year. I don't understand what's going on with this team. And Forrest Buckner's still on this team. They've still got all the guys they need. So I'm hoping they come up with a game effort and are able to play better on defense. And that's what we need to cover this number, because that, 10.5, that hook, I mean, it's something to worry about.
Yeah, I think they definitely missed Julian Blackmon, the second-year safety who's been out ACL or Achilles year-ending injury. He's been out a couple weeks now, and it's really hurt their pass defense now, 26th ranked against the pass. They still have a stout run game, but it's the pass defense that has certainly dragged them down the last several weeks.
So are we penciling this yellow or green?
I'd go green. I like Indianapolis a lot.
It's on my list of picks, so I'm good with green.
Okay.
All right, we are getting some action here at the the Avenida Cinco studio. Some action. There's some new fans for side action. Shirts right here. All right, here we go. So the next game is Cleveland, New England. Cleveland came off kind of what I mentioned last week. I think they needed to win that game, and they came up big and they won big. They actually are obviously a dog on the road at New England. They opened as a 3-point dog on the road, 44.5 point total. It's 2.5 in the contest, although it's 1.5 in a lot of places. It's 2.5 apparently at Rivers too, just so you know. 45.5 point total. Action, I'm on Cleveland on this one. The metrics say the Patriots, and it's kind of along the lines of your DVOA thing. I think it's a little bit of smoke and mirrors. I think their defense is really good, but I mean, I don't know about the Chubb injury or Chubb being out with COVID, but I don't know. I mean, Baker's tough to trust, obviously, in general, but I think that this defense is pretty good for Cleveland, and I think that Mac Jones is going to have some trouble against it. So I would like to get points in this situation, but what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I'm on the same side as you. I like Cleveland a lot. I already took them plus 2.5 earlier this week before you and I talked about earlier. The line dropped down to 1, which signaled to me that there was some sharp money coming in on the Browns.
Right.
And then the Chubb news broke, and now we're seeing 2.5 again. So, right. But to me, I think the biggest handicap for me is the health of the Browns defense. We've talked about it last week. The secondary was getting some key players back, and they performed really well against the Bengals offense. And I think that they're going to be set up to have some success against the Patriots this week. And on top of that, regardless whether it's Chubb or Dearness Johnson, I think that the Browns running game certainly will be able to have success on that side of the ball. So I like the Browns getting points also.
Is this another green? Right out of the gate?
Yeah, I'm in 2 for 2.
Let's do this. All right. Next one is Atlanta against Dallas. Dallas obviously played like crap, and I think that's all on Mike McCarthy personally. Dallas opened as a 9.5 point favorite at home, 50.5 point total. Total's all the way up to 54.5 with the total it's 9 in the contest for the Cowboys. Now, we didn't talk about this. I mean, obviously Atlanta played very well early in that game against the Saints. The Saints roared back. So you were on the right side when we talked about it last week. Glad we stayed away from it in the contest. But, man, I mean, 9 points is a lot, obviously, in any NFL game. I don't know if I can get on board with Atlanta, though. I got to figure there's a bounce back here for Dallas.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, they have only one direction to go after that performance. And that is the one thing that gives me pause. I certainly would have no interest in backing Dallas at 9. I thought long and hard about the Falcons because they really performed above expectation last week on offense against a really good Saints defense.
I know.
That definitely caught my eye. And I think that Matt Ryan and Pitts certainly have developed a connection.
Yep.
But I also think that the Cowboys defense has been overrated based on some pretty lucky turnover variance. Mm-hmm. And so that's obviously coming back, and we're seeing that, Diggs isn't intercepting and scoring touchdowns every week like he was early in the season.
Sure.
but I do think that they're going to be ready to play this week, and for that reason, it's probably a pass.
Yeah, let's just pass on it. I don't know. Dallas on the road. I mean, they played good last week on the road, but I don't know.
Hmm.
Good foe.
They do have that revenge from last year. Remember, they were up like 2 touchdowns in week 3 or 4, and then the onside kick fiasco. I think we lost on the Falcons last year in that game.
They did. They somehow blew that game. I don't know how they blew it, but weren't they up by 21 points or something?
Yeah, yeah, and it was 14 late with like 2 minutes left.
Yeah, yeah. All right, the next one, AFC East gem in the Bills going to the Jets. The Bills open as a 13.5-point favorite on the road, 48.5-point total. It's 11.5 in the contest, which, we followed the Bills again. They lost last week. They were covered a high spread the week before. They're on the road, divisional opponent. We know the Jets stink, but can we really get on board with this? I don't. I'm going to stay away this time, action. I know we jumped on the Bills twice with the big numbers to be contrarian. It did bite us last week.
Would you consider going on the other side with the Jets?
Ugh. I love
Parakeet in the background.
Exactly. Thank you. Trigger parakeet. I don't know, bro. I mean, the Jets. I mean, who's going to be a quarterback anyway? Like, did the one dude got hurt, Mike White?
Mike White is announced as the starter this week, so it appears that his little finger injury is okay to play.
Yeah, I just think the Bills, they got to come back and lay waste to this. I don't know about, I mean, it's a divisional opponent too.
Mm-hmm.
But if we go with the kind of general trend of the season where road teams do really well, I got to stay away from it, like in terms of the Jets. I know that they did beat the Titans at home early this season.
Yeah, I think that's a fair assessment. I mean, we certainly understand that the Bills defense is still number one in the league, and they performed. I mean, we got to say they performed great last week against Jacksonville. If you tell me that they hold the Jaguars to 9 points, I would probably respond and say that the Bills win that game 99% of the time. So you got to figure they're going to hold down the Jets offense a little bit this week, despite Mike White and his great performance through 1.25 games.
That's right. The Mike White experience. Well, let's skip it. Skip it. Okay, another one in the 1 o'clock window. We've got New Orleans going to Tennessee. Tennessee opens as a 2.5-point favorite, 44.5-point total. They're up to 3 in the contest at home, 44.5-point total. I'm on the Saints, dude. I know that we keep going against the Titans every damn week, but the Saints, again, are better in the metrics. I'm going to say this every week until the Titans lose. The Titans can – I don't even know how they won last week. I guess it was Stafford. 2 bad turnovers, right? Yeah. They didn't necessarily run the ball. They didn't even really throw the ball. So New Orleans, we talked about them last week being how can they score with Trevor Siemian? They put up points late. They just had to figure it out late. So I like getting the points here. And New Orleans, I think, is actually a better road team now than they are a home team anymore. I don't know why, but they have been traditionally.
That is true. They have been great on the road this season. And I agree. I think that I'm happy to die on the mountain going against Tennessee. I think we've done it like 4 weeks in a row now, and we're going to get them once.
We will get them.
And on top of that, I think that the Saints defense is still their defense. Again, they were just had an off day on Sunday. And I think it was pretty clear in the numbers that Tennessee's offense did not perform to their lofty expectations. Only 2.7 yards per carry last week against the Rams, and coming up against the Saints run defense is going to be another shock to the system. Plus, we're getting a full field goal here, which I think is key in a game that probably should be 2.5. You're looking at 3.
No, I agree with you. I think that's right. I mean, I think the Saints, well, in my metrics, they should be favored. We're not favored, but I got Saints. I think they should be a 1-point favorite or 1-point dog on the road. That's what I got them at. So I'm looking at 3.5 value. So that's good. So we are getting the full field goal.
The only thing that I want to monitor between now and then is I caught late this afternoon that Alvin Kamara popped up on the injury report. No practice today with a knee injury, and he's pretty key to their offense.
Yeah, he's kind of important guy. Okay, well let's put that. You want to put it as a yellow and then check his injury status on Saturday then?
I think so.
Okay, good call. All right, there's a couple more games. This 1 o'clock window is huge again. Then we've got Tampa against Washington. Tampa's coming off the bye. They opened as a 7.5-point favorite on the road, 51-point total. It's 9.5 now in the contest, which is higher than the market from what I've seen. You're showing 9.5. I think I'm showing 8.5, but still, they're a heavy favorite. 51.5-point total. It's a gut feeling. I mean, the Bucs should win this game. I know they should, but I don't know. For some reason, I'm holding this playoff game in my head from last year where Taylor Heineke, rocked out. They not only covered, they had a chance to win that game. I know you probably won't get on board with me with Washington because they've sucked all year for us, but I don't really want to take the Bucs minus the 9.5.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with that side for sure. It would be Washington or pass for me. They're at home, and I think though the playoff game from last year is probably a check in the positive side for Tampa Bay, knowing how Tom Brady is and how he's going to prepare his team coming off the bye.
Right.
They're certainly going to be ready for this game with an eye towards a little bit of revenge from the close game last season.
Sure.
But you've seen the week in and week out, this Washington football team has taken tons of money from the Sharps.
I know.
And for whatever reason, sharp money, smart money, big money, they like the Washington football team. And that's for some reason. Don't think it's the defense. But I'm actually seeing some 9.5, actually some 10s also on offshore books. So
maybe you're right. Maybe I missed that. I think you're right. I guess it is 9 for Rivers. But look, here's the thing. I don't know. I mean, if you think that it's going to be a sharp pick, which means that the contest people will go with this one. It's kind of like the Eagles every week, right?
Right.
I'm happy to stay away from it. I don't want to back Tom Brady, with 9.5, 10. I mean, they definitely can win. Meaning the Bucs can cover this number, but I don't know. For some reason, I think that Ron Rivera is going to rally the troops at some point in this season, but maybe not this one.
Right now, the Buccaneers are getting 81% of the tickets, so it appears to be not only just the public side, but very popular too. And as you know, there is usually some pretty good value going against a team that has that many bets on them.
Right. No. I mean, you want to be on the side of the books for the most part in that case. So, okay. Well, I don't know if you want to get on board with Washington, but I'm happy to pass, but it's Washington or pass.
Let's highlight them and talk about it a little bit more on the next day or two.
Sounds good. All right. The last one in the 1 o'clock window is, we've got another fill up of the margarita. Thank you, T.O.
All right. Round 2.
Nice. We've got Detroit going to Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh opened as a 10-point favorite at home, 44-point total. Right now, it's 8 points in the contest. The market shows 9 or 8.5. So Circa is making a stand right here at 42.5-point total. This is a very similar handicap to what we talked about last week with the Bears. Pretty large, Mike Tomlin, covering a spread, especially at home, is garbage. I don't know if I can get on board with you with the Lions because I know you're on this action. I already mental telepathy. But, I mean, could Detroit come and put a game effort on the road? Sure. Would have liked it at 10, that's for sure. 8's a better number for the Steelers. Thank you.
Yeah, true. I bet 9 yesterday. I did take the Lions, and I don't know how you knew that. Oh, maybe I wrote it in the notes. The Steelers just can't cover numbers as favorites. They're 0-3 against the spread as favorites this season, and 3-5 overall. And they're off. I mean, again, on Monday night, you saw them jump out to an early lead, and their defense let the Bears back into the game, and their offense is just not capable of getting margin.
Well, and they should. I watched the game. I watched at least the second half. It was 14-3 at halftime, I think.
Yep.
The Steelers were dominating them. They let them back in it. And I'm a Bears fan. I'm like, how are the Bears going to win this game? The Steelers almost lost it outright.
Yeah.
They gave up the fumble, the punt return fumble. Then they give up that bomb. I mean, Justin Fields played great in the fourth quarter, but all right, put yellow in Detroit, dude. All right, come on.
And I was also going to add the Lions are coming off of a bye. And for most teams in the NFL nowadays, I would say that's not necessarily a positive thing. But for saying all you want about Dan Campbell, the guy can certainly motivate. And I have every expectation that they're going to come off of the bye hungry and ready to play hard this weekend.
Yeah, I mean, you're not wrong. I mean, he's got him fired up. Up. Let's see if you talk me into it on a Saturday morning. I mean, that's probably what'll happen.
Okay.
All right, so here we go. Minnesota and the 4 o'clock window. Minnesota against the Chargers. So Chargers open as a 3-point favorite at home and a 50.5-point total. The total is ticked up to 53. but in Circa has it at 3. The market's between 2.5 and 3 for the Chargers. This is one of these situations, dude. It's just like last week with the Ravens. These teams are equal on paper. So I do think the Chargers are going to win this game. So, we talked about a simplifying handicap. Who's going to win the game? Chargers. So that means they're going to cover. That's what most of the numbers are saying. But damn, and the Vikings covered that number last week, and I kind of knew that they would. They should have probably won the game. But, Lamar Jackson's incredible. So where are you on this one?
This is a really tough game to handicap. I'll be honest, early on in the week, I had a lean to the Vikings, mainly because I think they, when you talk about, win expectancy, they've actually been very unlucky in terms of games that they should have won this season. I think they're 3-5. They probably should be more like 5-3. Sure. And on the flip side, the Chargers are a team that has probably lucked into some more wins than they really should have. And so 2 even teams, I would venture to think that in the long run, Minnesota will balance out. However, the news cycle this week for the Vikings has been terrible. And I think that the distractions are really starting to add up. One of their starting offensive linemen came down with COVID and has now been hospitalized. And I heard on the radio today that there's 28 close contacts that they're monitoring. So there could be an additional COVID outbreak on the team. And then in addition to that, the Dalvin Cook news came out that he's involved in a domestic dispute. So I think all of those things, distraction-wise, is not good for a Vikings team who's already had some history this season of not being level-headed and prepared to play.
Okay. But would you get on board with the Chargers, or is it a stay away?
No, I should have clarified. I would be interested in the Chargers, actually, laying 3.
Yeah, it's fascinating. It's one of those ones. I mean, what do the numbers tell you? I've got the game. Chargers. I mean, it's right by the number. It's really where I have the Chargers by 2 in my numbers, so it's really close. But let's put it as a yellow. Let's talk about it. I mean,
what do you think?
Herbert had a decent game. They obviously won the game against the Eagles. It was a tough game. It was dicey. I mean, the Sharps knew something because the Eagles were right in that game.
Yeah.
But we went all the way down to the pick in that one, didn't it? The Eagles Chargers, or were they always favored by the one?
I think it was 1 at close.
Okay.
What's your take on the coaching matchup here, Zimmer versus the debutant Staley?
The debutant. I think the debutante is a better coach, especially a game day coach. But every now and then, I mean, the Zimmer, he comes up with something every now and then on a defensive basis to stymie, other teams. And this isn't a primetime matchup. It's a 4:00 matchup. We got to stay away from Kirk in that one. But if Dalvin Cook, who probably won't play, is he not going to play with all the news?
I haven't read anything like that. I expect he'll be out there, but I'm just the dark cloud surrounding the entire organization this week certainly cannot help them prep for this game.
Well, if he plays, he's going to get 200 yards. The Chargers can't stop the run.
Valid.
So that's my only fear, is that if he's out, I feel better. But let's put it as a yellow. Otherwise, it'll stay away from me.
Okay.
All right, let's go. Carolina, Arizona. This is at Arizona. Arizona was a 10.5-point favorite in this game, 45.5-point total. 10 points in the contest for the Cardinals, 44.5-point total. I mean, this team is amazing, right? The metrics are good. I don't think Cliff Kingsbury's that great of a coach, but he's got a good team and they're playing great. You got to figure there's some letdown. I mean, Colt McCoy, if he's going to start for real, there's going to be tape on him now. Because I thought that was part of gamesmanship with Cliff Kingsbury last week. Give him some credit that the other team couldn't prepare for Colt McCoy. This week, Carolina should, but he's going to start with P.J. Walker. I mean, good God. It's a stay away, dude. It's a stay away.
Yeah, I agree. I have zero negative interest in the Panthers.
Right.
But it's hard to lay 10 points with Arizona with so many unknowns. And now Rondale Moore could be out too. So I agree. Total pass.
The spoiler maker zone.
Hey, David Bell is going to be better than that guy when he makes it to the league.
No question. All right, well, let's go with the last couple here. Seattle against Green Bay. We kind of mentioned this at the top with the injuries and notes. Green Bay opens a 5-point favorite at home, 49.5-point total. The Packers are a 3-point favorite now, 49.5-point total. I was on Seattle early in the week when the number was better. 3 points at home. Rodgers going to play. Ugh. Green Bay's good at home, covering numbers, dude.
Yeah.
I don't like this team. But 3 points is I mean, they're telling you they want you to take the Packers, but I always thought the bounce was going to be good for Russell coming back. They're going to play great, make a stand. I think they've even beaten Green Bay in Green Bay before, but I liked a better number. This 3 is good for the Pack.
Did you know that Russell Wilson has been simulating warm-ups every game? Pre-game action. He puts on his little headphones and he's pretending like he's warming up playing quarterback.
First of all, that Russell Wilson's my hero because he's married to Ciara. Russia.
Of course.
So he can do whatever the hell he wants and still go home to Ciara. So whatever he does on the sidelines, in the driveway, whatever, who cares? But that's funny that he's doing that. But hey, I mean, I like Wilson. He's a great guy, a good player. But I don't know. What do you think about this one? I have no idea. I don't like the number for Seattle now, but I could get on board because, I don't know, Green Bay. Fuck. I don't know. What do you think?
I think there's value on Green Bay, to be honest. This number should not be 3. It's not like Seattle was playing great with Russell Wilson.
Right.
And him coming back doesn't mask their really horrible defense either. 23rd ranked and 24 against the pass. So Devontae Adams and Rodgers surely won't miss a beat when he comes back onto the field. And I think the Packers are primed for a cover here, especially at 3. What does the Wegs index tell you the number should be?
Should be Packers 6.5 at home.
Yeah.
It's value. You're right. And that's why when it was 5, I thought, okay, there's going to be a Russell bump. Now it's down to 3. It's all for the Pack. I mean, yeah, I agree with you.
The only unknown for me is the malaise, the potential malaise that Aaron Rodgers could be in after he kind of had a tumultuous week too with all the media backlash, and certainly that's got to wear on any human being, even a professional quarterback.
Well, he could also come back and say F you to the league, right? I mean, he could play great, and I'm sure the team's going to be happy to have him back. I mean, Love was at best average. He didn't play well. I mean, they covered the number against Kansas City only because Kansas City couldn't score, but 7 points, I mean, against that Chiefs defense, that's bad. So.
Yeah. I think we should color it yellow if you're up for it. Yeah. Definitely want to read up on Aaron Rodgers on Saturday morning before we pull the trigger on this one.
Yeah, obviously. All right, the last in the 4 o'clock window is Philadelphia, the darlings of the Sharps, against Denver. Denver opens in a 1.5-point favorite at home, 44.5-point total. Now the Broncos are a 3-point favorite in the contest, which is about where the market is. 44.5-point total. I mean, it's kind of a whatever game to me. I think the Broncos, I've got them that they should be more of a 4.5-point favorite, so it's not that much value. I did have them as a Wegs Index pick earlier in the week, but I can also back off on it. Teddy, as we know, is better at the underdog versus the favorite.
That's a good point. Yeah, and I've seen a couple of 2.5s that are starting to show in the market, and it would be really nice if the contest was also 2.5.
Right.
I think, if you mentioned the difference in the index being 3.5, or did you say 4.5?
Yeah, right. Still, that's with the 2-point home advantage. Mm-hmm.
Okay, and like you said, I've also expected the wave of money to come in on the Eagles, and it hasn't really come yet. Maybe it will in the next day or two.
Right.
But I don't know. This is a tough one for me to call. Denver rose up last week in the underdog role, but I suspect they might fall flat a little bit this week comparatively.
And they've won back-to-back games now, so maybe they've righted the ship because they had a great start and they played like crap. Now they're playing. The Eagles aren't that good of a football team, so I'd be happy to stay away. Action. I don't know. I mean, last week it made sense to go against Dallas because it was a lot of points and Teddy covers. This one's tough.
Yeah, I think this is the pass too.
Okay. All right, we go prime time. This is a couple game and one for our proxy. This is Kansas City going to Vegas. Somehow Kansas City opens a 3-point favorite on the road, 53.5-point total. It's 2.5 in the contest with a 52-point total. How's this possible? This team doesn't cover any numbers, and they're going on the road and they're favored against a team that metrically is better than them. And I know Dave, our proxy, loves to hear this, but I mean, I got the Raiders like as a 7-point favorite at home here. I can't fathom what the books are thinking, except that the Chiefs are a public team. Is that what's happening?
That and they know that a lot of sharp bettors still have the Chiefs rated in the top five,
Huh.
and that if they open this number a certain direction, that they're going to get a ton of Chiefs money, which presumably they don't want. And we just got a text from Dave, our proxy, and he said, "You better effing pick the Raiders tonight." Oh wait, no.
Exactly. Let's see what's about the PR that they're trying to do with the situation with Ruggs. But yeah,
Yeah.
no, we know where Dave wants to sit. But here's a question for you with the Chiefs. The Chiefs had been playing better defensively. We know that. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think, what do your numbers say in DVOA? What is their defense? You know, it's probably for the whole season, right? So it's still crappy, but where they sit defensively.
28th ranked, 27 pass, and 29 against the run.
They don't show you like a last 3 weeks or anything like that, right? So, I mean, I think they have gotten better. I don't love them. I think the Raiders, is Darren Waller, he's fine now, right? He's playing now.
Yeah. Yeah. Waller's back, and Josh Jacobs returned. Looked great last weekend against the Giants.
They just couldn't punch in the end zone. They should have won the game. So I'm still on Vegas here. I'm a little curious why this line isn't close to even a pick or something. It's weird to me.
Yeah. And I think on the other side of the ball, the Raiders defense has obviously performed above expectations, and they are set up very well to play the Chiefs' stop defense, because their pass rush has been dynamite this season, putting pressure on opposing quarterbacks just by rushing four. And that's how you beat Patrick Mahomes and company this year. So I think the Raiders are in a great spot here. And we add in that they're divisional home dog on Sunday Night Football.
Yep.
I think it's slam dunk.
Sprinkle a little money line. Get a little Let's
definitely
go. Okay, good. Last game of the weekend, Monday night, the Rams playing against San Francisco. The Rams open as a 3-point favorite on the road at San Francisco, which has no home field advantage, by the way. 47-point total. In the contest, it's up to 4 with a 49-point total. Look, this happened last week. We took the cheese again action. It's not your fault. We both wanted to do it. We took San Francisco against the Cardinals, and we got crushed. Just like everybody else in the contest. Well, not everybody, 1,600 people. You can't trust San Francisco at home. I mean, they haven't won a game, let alone covered a game, since they opened the damn stadium. But I don't like the 4. I don't love the 4. Obviously, 3 was better. And I don't know, man. The Rams are such a weird team. They're such a good, talented team, but I'd like to stay away. Like to stick with our Monday night stay away spot. But I'm assuming you're on the Rams here, right?
No, I'm happy to pass this game too. I mean, you mentioned the trends for the Niners at home. I mean, they just can't win at home for whatever reason. But on the other side, the Rams, even though in my mind it seems like that they performed really well this season, they're now only 4-5 against the spread. And so it's a team that's not really covering numbers. They've lost 3 in a row as well against the number. So I'm happy to pass this one.
Action. They're refusing to run the ball. This team was built on play action pass with Goff. With Stafford, they're just hucking and shucking, and they're letting the other team get back in it because they don't control the clock. And you've seen it time and time again. And the Titans did it too. Even though the Titans didn't run the ball well, they controlled the clock, and that's why the Rams couldn't even get back in it when they got down quick.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, the loss of Cam Akers certainly didn't help, and then Darrell Henderson's been banged up. That doesn't really give McVay good feelings about running the ball, I'm sure.
Right. Okay, let's pass. I'm down. Okay, well, let's review our top candidates this week. It looks like we got some greens action.
Yeah.
Right out the gate, we've got Indy over Jacksonville. Indy being a 10.5-point favorite at home. Cleveland at New England getting 2.5 points is a green. The other green we just talked about, Vegas getting 2.5 points at home against the Chiefs. And now we'll have to make some decisions between these games. New Orleans being a 3-point dog on the road against Tennessee, America's darling. Then you've got Washington plus 9.5 at home, coming off the bye for both teams. Detroit plus 8 at the Steelers. We know Tomlin can't cover a spread. And then you've got the Chargers minus 3 at home against the Vikes. and then Green Bay -3 at home against Seattle. So definitely some good picks for those last two.
Yeah, I'm feeling good about the ones that we have lined up and a good 4 or 5 yellows that we can talk through on Saturday morning.
Right, right. Well, a little transition. We were starting a new quarter here. We obviously didn't win the second quarter. We were not that close, but we maybe, we're kind of in the middle of the pack here. So we went 2-3 last week, which wasn't fantastic, but we're still, 1,443rd place. That's not bad, for 4,000 entries plus. The top dogs there's two now, right now, action at 34-11. That's 75.56%. That's pretty damn good.
Yeah.
And to get in the top 50 right now, you have to be almost at 69% at 31-14. So, we've got some work ahead of us for the last two quarters, but this is a 4-week quarter, if I'm not mistaken. So
yes,
maybe we can do what we do the last couple of years and have great first couple of weeks and, guns a-blazing, right?
Yeah, I think going into quarter 3 here is where we need to make our move. If we have a good week this week, we can set ourselves up nicely and really focus here going down the stretch.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay. All right, buddy. We'll have a great weekend. I'll be here until Sunday, but we'll talk on Saturday to formalize our picks for our listeners and viewers. I will get the stuff up. Don't worry. I know you're worried. I am getting some more shirts, everybody. So
Nice.
we have some giveaways. Our guy Dempsey, he asked me for, double XL to promote, when he goes to Vegas. He was getting all the slot machine love down there in Vegas. So got to get him one. And then I'm sure some other people want some. So let's spread the love, spread the side action love.
That's right. Yeah, we're headed to Vegas next weekend as well. So I have to make sure my shirt's nice and tidy so I can wear it around town.
Or are you guys going to see the proxy or no?
Yeah, we're going to try and rock climb with Dave on Monday at Red Rocks. We got a couple of things lined up at Circa, and then obviously some gambling in between. So it'll be fun.
That's awesome. That's awesome. All right, everybody. We'll follow the podcast, the Side Action Pod on Twitter. Follow me at Wegs on Twitter and Instagram.
And follow me on Twitter at 31S Roberts.
All right, everybody. Good luck this weekend.